Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Monday the 28th of January 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off as ever with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of, but of course as it's a Monday we'll look at things from a weekly standpoint. And really the weekly story is one of pushback by majors against the US dollar, led by the British pound. The pound sterling up by around 2.44% against the US dollar over the course of the last week. Cable trading at 131.92.50 shortly before we recorded the video, and the pound obviously improving on hopes that a no-deal Brexit can be averted with some kind of compromise in the UK Parliament and between the UK and the European Union. But the gains have not been confined to the pound sterling. The New Zealand dollar adding a creditable 1.63% against its US rival over the course of the last week. The Chinese yuan pushing back, fighting back by around 0.85% against the US dollar, and also near neighbours Canada and Mexico taking money off of the dollar, 0.62% to the good, the Canadian dollar against the US dollar over the last week, and the Mexican peso coming within a whisper of taking a percent off of the US currency. All of those and the strength seen in the euro against the US dollar over the course of last week weighing on dollar index, which finished the week down by around 0.62% and starts the session here today at 95.77. We said that the dollar was looking for directional cues. I suppose on balance it's had that, hasn't it, in a negative side. Will it rally from here or will it retrace further? Remember, we started the year testing down to 95, and that's a possible destination, I guess, for dollar index, although who's to say that it can't bounce from here as well. Okay, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. A relatively quiet day today, though still with some interesting data and events to be aware of. First of all, it's a holiday in Australia. It's Australia Day there, so 24 hours out of the markets there for the Australian population. And then at 9 AM GMT we'll have data out of the Eurozone in the shape of money supply. That's M3 money supply for the 3 months to December, and private loans growth year over year for the month of December. So a look at the ease and availability of money in the Eurozone economy. And then there's a pause until 13:30 this afternoon when we cross over the Atlantic for the first of the US data today in the form of the Chicago Fed National Activity Index for December. And then at 1400, the first of the day's central banker speeches, and this comes from ECB President Mario Draghi. And at 14:30, it's the turn of the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney to speak as well. So two key central bankers speaking back to back there. At 15:30, we'll have the second of the day's regional Fed announcements in the shape of the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index for January. And then at 16:30 and 1800 we have a series of bill and bond auctions in the US, 3-month and 6-month bill auctions first of all, and then at 1800 5-year and 2-year note auctions. It'll be very interesting to see how the market is prepared to fund the US government given recent events and announcements at the weekend. And then we take another pause until 22:45 tonight, and we cross over the Pacific to New Zealand, and we'll have balance of trade data out of New Zealand for the month of December. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, President Donald Trump has announced an end to the US government shutdown. However, it may only be a temporary measure, and we could be back on a shutdown within 3 weeks unless Mr. Trump gets his way elsewhere. Profits at Chinese industrial companies have fallen for a second month in a row during December, though they still grew at 10.3% year over year, though that was down from the 11.7% reading that we saw in November, and a reading above 20% for 2017 in totality. A delegation of Chinese officials, including Vice Premier Liu He, has arrived in Washington for trade talks this week. So some of the big guns are being called out to try and move these China-US trade talks along. And Saudi Arabia is set to announce a $425 billion infrastructure plan containing up to 70 projects and proposals. So watch out for that as the Saudis try and move away and diversify further from their reliance on oil. Okay then, food for thought and something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? I've captioned this rare commodities, and we take a look at a new take on the periodic table that ranks elements by their scarcity on Earth and the likelihood of supplies running out over the next 100 years. Oxygen, thankfully for us, is still plentiful, but items like helium here and zinc, which is here, are among those items under threat. There's a colour coding here which tells you about the supply, and then a couple of use case items here as well to augment the data. Particularly this one is interesting, elements used in mobile phones, and you can see the mobile phone symbols spread widely across the table. So that's worth studying and giving some thought to. Okay, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leveraged products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative, and do take the time please to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time today.